Hi, this is Mary Eve at Purdue Extension Office in Harrison County, and I'm in the kitchen again. My hair is up, so Mary must be baking something good. But yes, Mary is baking something good, but it's not something to eat. It is something to be creative with. We are making salt dough today. Our ingredients are flour, salt, and water. So it's a very simple recipe. We will be using 2 cups of flour. And since we're not baking a recipe as such, you don't have to be as precise as we are when we make cookies or cakes. And we'll just make a mess, but who cares? So we have 1 cup. In this recipe, all you need is the 1 cup measure as well. 2 cups. And we're going to need a lot of salt. We need a whole measuring cup of salt. This dough is not good to eat, and do not feed it to your animals. It is especially poisonous for dogs. Then we're back, have some more salt. I cleaned up my flour mess. Just always clean as you go. So like I said, this is a lot of salt. There we go, 1 cup of salt. Now we're going to combine the salt and the flour. Make sure that we don't have any lumps. There we go, that looks pretty good. And will in the middle. And this recipe calls for 1 cup of water. But we may not need all of that. We're not going to add this all at once. I'm going to add about 1/2 cup first in the well that I have in the flour. And we're going to stir that up. I will be adding more water, but yesterday when I made this, I did not add the full 1 cup. We want a stiff dough, but we don't want all this loose flour around the edges. So to add some more water. You see I'm adding it around the edges this time, where all my loose flour is. Just about might have it here. Going to use my hands so I can feel what the dough feels like and to try and incorporate some of the rest of the loose flour on the sides. Yes, I don't think I need to add any more water. So we don't want a sloppy dough. We want something that feels like Play-Doh. Almost got all of it. It's okay if you leave a little bit of flour down in the bowl. It won't hurt your recipe. Okay, we got most everything out of there, and as you can see, I still have quite a bit of water left in my measuring cup. So on our table here, you can see I have my plastic. It's held down with a little bit of water. Just going to knead the dough a little bit to make it nice and smooth. And you can feel the grains of salt in the dough. And before you use this like Play-Doh, it is a good idea to let it rest for a little bit. So I'm going to use the dough that I made yesterday. This I will wrap up in a separate sheet of plastic and put it in the refrigerator because it does have flour in there and it will get a little moldy if you don't use it really soon. So by keeping it in the fridge, we keep it from getting that way. And here's the dough I made yesterday. And this is nice and smooth and soft. Now, if you want to color your dough before you use it, you can use either acrylic paint or not watercolor, but food coloring. And it's usually better if you're going to color it in the bowl, but then you'd have to make lots of batches. So we're just going to add a couple drops of food coloring and blend this in. And you're just going to knead it like dough. And you see the color is starting to come through. It's plastic. And once you get it a color that you like, then you can make whatever it is you're going to make out of your salt dough. Salt dough, unlike Play-Doh, you can bake it and make it hard. So we're going to do a couple of things today, and I will show you what it looks like when we're done. And there we go. So it's a nice light color blue. As this dries, it will be a little bit lighter. So if you like the color darker, add a little more food coloring. And let me rinse my hands just a second, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we are back. Now to form your dough, like I said, it's just like playing with Play-Doh. And you can either just use your hands to flatten the dough. Yes. And then use a cookie cutter or make up your own design that you can cut into it. Yesterday, I made a simple heart. And to make a heart, it's very easy. All you need is a thumb. And you press your thumb going in one direction and press your thumb going in the other direction. And I should have done this upside down so that you can see it better, but let me flip it over and you can see that there is a heart design. And we put that on a tray. And if you're thinking of hanging this up, you just take a straw and make a simple hole in the top. And our dough just came out with the straw. And we put it back in a pile of dough. You can also use a rolling pin. And this stuff is a little sticky, and I just got blue food coloring on there. And roll it out. And since we're baking these, it's just like cookies. The thinner the dough is, the faster it will bake. Okay. And we'll put that on our sheet. And then you can also mold this stuff. So say you want to make a small dish that Dad can use to put his change in when he empties his pockets after coming home from work. So you start with a circle and then kind of pinch up the edges. And we have to work it a little bit. It'll make a nice little dish. Now we're going to go ahead and bake these. You may have to reform it just a little bit after you put it on your pan. There we go. Now, these are very wet and will take a long time to bake. And these bake only on 200 degrees. And when I say a long time, I mean about 4 to 5 hours. Because you want it totally dry. These are the ones I made and baked yesterday. So I made the same designs. And now I'll show you how you can decorate these. Let's wait till these are very, very dry before you do anything with them. Here's our one with the heart. So I'm going to take some paint and just paint inside the heart. Got a lot of paint that time. And remember, we made this with just your thumbs. And it makes a very pretty heart. Now, if you want to keep your salt dough for a long time, you have to remember that it is food, just like a cookie. And we want to make sure that it stays safe and does get moist, like have water on it, because then it will revert back to dough and it could get moldy and nasty. So you can either use Mod Podge, which is a decoupage, or you can use a clear acrylic spray and just spray on top. And you want to make sure that you give it a good coat on the top. Then flip your item over and also give it a good coat on the bottom and the sides. And then if you don't have that, if it's small enough, you can use clear fingernail polish. Make sure when you use this stuff that your room is well ventilated. This is just like using spray paint. So there you have it. You've got your salt dough. You can make ornaments. You can make a little pot for something for dad, a little heart for mom. So you can make all kinds of gifts, or you can just play with it. And stay tuned. We have a story coming up. Today I'm going to read 2 Aesop fables. Aesop was a Greek storyteller who lived almost 2,600 years ago, but his stories are still with us today. The first one is called The Foolish Milkmaid. A milkmaid was walking along with a pail of milk balanced on her head. She was thinking of the money the milk would bring when she sold it in the town. Now, 8 quarts of milk will bring me enough to buy 50 eggs. At least 40 chickens will hatch out. I will raise the 40 chickens and sell them at the fair next year. With that money, I will buy a silk dress. How fine I will be. All the boys will make eyes at me, and then I shall just toss my head. With those words, she did toss her head. The pail tipped, and the milk spilled, and all her fine dreams were at an end. Now with fables, there's usually a moral to the story or a line to live by. In this fable, it is, don't count your chickens before they are hatched. Now the second one is called The Shepherd Boy and the Wolf. A shepherd boy, watching his sheep on a lonely hillside, found life very dull. Just for something to do, he ran toward the nearby town shouting, "Wolf! Wolf!" The village people came running to drive off the wolf. When the boy saw how he had fooled them, he laughed and laughed. Next day, remembering what fun he had had, the boy again called to the villagers, "Wolf! Wolf!" And again the people ran to help the shepherd. The boy was delighted with his joke. Then, on the following day, towards evening, he saw a slinking gray wolf approaching the sheep. With a cry, "Wolf! Wolf!" the boy ran towards the village. But nobody would come, for nobody believed him. They had been fooled once too often. So the wolf attacked the sheep, killing and eating as many as he liked. If you want to be believed, always speak the truth, is the moral of this story. May I leave you with one quote from Aesop. No act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. Thank you.